It's too bad Maddie died watching the Sandy Cheeks movie.
Yeah,
I miss her so
it's kind of
much.
amazing given I was the one who died in the middle of the review, but they retconned it, I guess. Just like Rosy Cheek.
And with Maddie dead, I gotta pick up the slack. So today's gonna be a little bit weird, not only for that reason, but because of our new co-host here.
Hey, Krusty Casters, I'm Mo Sislak. I'm very excited to be reviewing these SpongeBob episodes with you. Oh, I gotta tell you, that Sponge fella, oh, he's one of my favorite Nickelodeon cartoons.
Well, I'm happy to hear it, Mo. I can't think of anyone I'd want on the show more than you, including
Okay, Mo
myself.
isn't gonna talk anymore because I don't want to do that voice.
That's okay.
I'll be in the corner. So today we watched two pretty interesting episodes, two good ones, we
Yeah,
think.
yeah. I think these episodes both remind me a lot of like the essence of season one in different ways. So we're
Mm-hmm.
gonna start off
Yeah.
with Sleepy Time.
In fact, let's do that right now.
All right, so the episode starts off, and you're all gonna like applaud in your seats when you hear this. It starts out with SpongeBob in his bedroom about to go to sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah! This episode really feels like the culmination of all the SpongeBob sleep scenes we've experienced so far. It's
It, it
like
really, it really feels like yeah, it's all just
season
foreshadowing
one
for this.
season one has been building to sleepy time.
And it's
It's
spoiler
gonna,
So
alert, this isn't the only episode we're talking about today that does this.
it's a major motif. Anyway, this episode's immediately interesting to me. This episode is immediately interesting to me, not just because of that, but also the first like joke or little funny bit in the episode is like SpongeBob takes off his shoes and then Gary like sticks his eyes in them and SpongeBob says, "Mind your wandering eye, you little mollusk."
Can
And I
we?
like immediately was like, "Wait, is that like a Ween reference?"
No way. Is it?
Because like in the Ween song "The Mollusk" from their album "The Mollusk," one of the verses says, "Hey, little boy, come walk with me and bring your newfound mollusk along. Does it speaketh of the Trinity? Can it gaze at the sun with its wandering eye? Yes, it speaks of the Trinity, casting light at the sun with its wandering eye."
Well,
oh
Hill.
shit.
Well, Hillenberg was a Ween fan, so I guess it could
Yeah, like
be.
it's gone on record saying that like Ween was like a huge inspiration for early SpongeBob. So like, and like given how like weird a line it is and how like unlike SpongeBob it is to say, I feel like it probably is like a reference to that song.
That's awesome.
That's a good
And I
catch.
and I also just love the follow-up line. Curiosity salted the snail.
It's so good. Can we
So good.
can we
And
talk about something less good though?
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Can we talk about is this the first time we see him like without shoes on? Cuz he sleeps even
It
with them
might be.
on.
I think so.
And I,
Yeah, his feet are a little bit distressed. They're like so human shaped here. I think like the proportionally it's weird.
and much like the bedroom scene, it's not the only time we're going to see SpongeBob's feet in both of these.
Well, SpongeBob, as we
Hooray!
know, has a big investment in feet, as we've seen in the movie.
Foreshadowing.
So
You you had to
anyway, we start
remind
off
me of that, huh?
Hmm.
right into SpongeBob's dream scene, and I really like already just love like the dream imagery of like this like
Yeah.
bizarre, like kind of eerie like night landscape with like the night background and all these like Krabby Patty and like fast food things sticking out of the ground and like the weird opening of SpongeBob's like body, like a rock turning to SpongeBob's body and connecting with the rest of his body,
It's
with his
very
limbs and stuff.
it's very creative. I enjoy it a lot.
It's very yeah, very creative, surreal imagery in this section that I think really like to me like makes you like sells you on like the whole like dream aesthetic of the episode.
Yeah. I
Absolutely.
really like that aspect of this episode.
Yeah, this episode is very creative, and we get So SpongeBob, he like imagines a sports car boat and starts driving. He's like, "Wait, I don't have a license," and then he dreams up a license.
Yeah, hang on.
And this is where we get like,
Let's talk about this license real quick, actually.
yeah, there's some interesting lore here. SpongeBob is 4 inches tall.
4 inches tall and 13 years old, apparently.
Yeah, this episode aired in like January of 2000. It says he was born in July 1986, so he's 13 years old.
Which is fascinating because he always just kind of struck me as like sort of this whimsical adult character.
Yeah.
Hmm.
To be
I don't know
fair,
if he's
like you go.
I don't know if this actually means he's like 13 like in canon because or if this is just like a little one-off like visual they made and didn't think that hard about.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
like
possible.
like there's also like how in SB129 it's set in like 4017, which implies that the opening scene's in 2017. So
Yeah, that is true. I didn't think
for all
about
we
that.
know, SpongeBob could be older than 13. We don't know.
It's like
Yeah, it
the
It
could be
also says he
30.
has yellow hair, which I
SpongeBob doesn't have
guess.
hair, or does he?
Oh.
So yeah, SpongeBob driver's license, very crucial piece of lore info, or maybe not. And but SpongeBob, even in his dream with his license, he just does a shit job of driving and drives off the road and flies out of his
He's
car.
just so busy admiring his license, he can't focus on driving. And honestly, I love
Yeah.
it so much.
Oh my god, I just got like a little joke in this episode where in this part he's like, I wish I grew a mustache, and then that pays off later.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, because
There's a few little callbacks like that throughout the episode.
Oh, it's so good. And then yeah, he like flies through the air. Mrs. Puff is also flying through the air and grabs his driver's license and tears it up. Now, this is something to talk about. Do you think this is like Mrs. Puff in SpongeBob's dream, like how he dreams her, or is this, given the rest of the episode, is this Mrs. Puff like jumping into SpongeBob's dream?
Oh my god. She gave him
Good
she
question.
passed the power on to him. Because like right after this we see SpongeBob fly out of the dream.
Yeah, like even how SpongeBob's like you can do whatever you want in a dream, and he like pretty much like seems to like work by that logic through a lot of the rest of the episode. It seems like, and like given the rest of the episode it's about like SpongeBob going to other people's dreams and messing them up, it feels like it kind of makes more sense. But this is Mrs. Puff like going to SpongeBob's dream and messing it up.
I never thought about that. But that's put that on the TV tropes theory page. We gotta crack this wide open.
This is my wild mass guess. Anyway, SpongeBob, little dream SpongeBob flies out of SpongeBob's dream, and he's like, "Oh, I should probably go back." Oh, wait, it's Gary's dream, and then we get Gary's dream,
I love Gary's
which takes.
dream.
So,
I
before
love
we
it
go
too.
on to Gary's dream, I took a note which is SpongeBob astral projection because he's not sure whether like his dream body or his real body is himself.
Yeah,
So this whole
There's-
episode is about SpongeBob astral projecting, I guess.
He's using the magic powers he was given.
see, he learned from Mrs. Puff. Anyway, Gary's
Oh.
dream takes place in a really cool, like ornate, big library, and this is like probably like I think this is the first real Gary focus. Like we got teenage Gary, but that wasn't really like a Gary character focus. That was mostly like Gary as a prop.
Yeah.
This is the closest we've gotten to like Gary character stuff so far, and like it is like kind of weird. His whole thing being like he dreams about being like really smart, isn't like
Yeah.
and like it does sort of set up like one of his main things in the show later on is he's like smart for just what's usually considered an animal, and he like does smart things and things he doesn't seem like he should be able to do.
Yeah.
So it does kind of like actually like set up his character, even though he's like not that prominent of a character personality wise throughout the show.
It actually gives him some kind of depth, which is appreciated.
I love Gary, so I'm happy to see this, and I love weird, lanky, robed humanoid Gary.
It's so funny.
Yeah, I just love that this is apparently the sort of thing Gary dreams about.
Yeah. I just love him being just like this scholar. Also, it's interesting that like according to this, apparently Gary like condescends to SpongeBob and sees him as like beneath him and like, like talks down to him a
Yeah.
lot.
He's like
Which is
Brian
interesting
Griffin.
to think about.
It's like Brian Griffin.
He's a little bit Brian Griffin.
And then he goes to read his book, which he name checks an actual author, which is funny.
Yeah.
Emily Dickinson.
Emily Dickinson poetry has like made it under the ocean, and Gary the snail has read it and dreams about it.
Yeah, how else would he know about it in his dream?
Also, he says the man from Peru poem, which also like comes back later. There's a lot of like little gags that also like get brought back in even smaller ways throughout this episode, which is really cute.
It's such a tightly written
Yeah.
episode, especially for season 1, I think.
Like even at the end of the scene where SpongeBob's like, "Okay, I'm gonna go back to my dream," Gary says, "Beware, like, mind your wandering eye, you little peripherin."
Oh
Just like-
shit!
Yeah.
I missed
Requoting what SpongeBob said to him.
That's a. I just really like this dream.
It's such tight writing.
It really
Because
is.
like it's so good. SpongeBob's like quote earlier was like a joke and like a weird obscure reference, and then also like gets turned back around on him later and like a callback that also kind of sets up like the theme of the episode of SpongeBob just like wandering around and fucking things up.
Maybe Gary also listens
Yeah.
to Ween.
Gary would listen to Ween. Look at him. So anyway, SpongeBob's going back to his dream, but he sees that Patrick's giant dream bubble outside of his house. He's like, "Whoa, what was Patrick dreaming of?"
Also,
And he goes into his dream.
can we talk about
Yeah?
Patrick's sleeping situation? Like, just in general? How sometimes he'll have
Sleep-
a bed?
Oh yeah, I love how they like make no effort to make Patrick's house consistent. Like SpongeBob has like a pretty like defined set of rooms. Squidward has like a few rooms that are consistent in his house. Like he always has his bedroom. Patrick, like his house is just whatever the fuck it wants to be, and I think that kind of fits for how like chaotic and lazy Patrick is. That of course he wouldn't bother like keeping his under a rock house consistent.
I mean, it's like SpongeBob's many room dimensions.
Mm-hmm.
Pat room dimension.
The like entirety of Patrick's house is like a Patrick room dimension. So SpongeBob goes into his dream, and this might be like probably like the funniest dream to me in general.
I
And was
agree.
just like
I love this sequence so much.
just a blank void with Patrick riding his little horsey.
Hey, he's
It's so good. And
SpongeBob tried
SpongeBob's
to-
like so. He's just so amazed that Patrick's dream is this uninteresting. He tries
Yeah.
to get Patrick to dream about something better.
both.
He's so
But
like
Patrick's-
pissed off.
Yeah,
He's just content. He just likes riding his little horsey.
this
Yeah.
this whole sequence, I think, is just like peak Patrick. Just like
Yeah.
really easygoing, not a whole lot going on in that brain of his, but he's just having a good
Mhm.
time.
Yeah, he's
Honestly,
very
this is gonna.
simple but very content.
This is just a really strong Patrick block, I think.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. You're gonna be seeing more good Patrick next episode. But yeah, here he's just kind of obtained enlightenment. And also I love how he drops his quarter and it falls in a grave. He's like, oh well. He just like sits there on his
Yeah,
horse.
I love the like 5-second pause of just Patrick sitting there disappointed that he lost his only quarter. He can't dream of another quarter. Poor guy.
Yeah. Especially after SpongeBob just tells him he can dream of anything.
Yeah.
Can we talk about these SpongeBobs real quick, by the way? These stock looking ones right here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a little distressing. So yeah, SpongeBob like rage quits Patrick's dream and is going back to his house, but he sees Squidward's dream and he has to see that. It's like my favorite format of story, which is just like bunch of little character focused vignettes, and I think it's so cute.
It really
Yeah.
is.
It kind
Squidward,
of
of
feels
course.
to me like kind of a more refined culture shock in a few ways.
God, yeah, same like similar sort of format of just like here's what this character is doing in this situation, here's what this character, but like a lot more like focused throughout like the main cast and a lot like more interesting a setup with all the like dreams, making them letting them be able to like both do whatever they want and also like show what like the characters' values are and stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah, for
like we
sure.
get these little glimpses into everyone's psyche, and I love it.
Yeah,
This
yeah, it
is
gives a lot of like internality to the characters. So Squidward, he's of course like he's dreaming that he's like at a regal concert, he's performing for like royalty. Then SpongeBob shows up, and Squidward's like, "SpongeBob, go away!" But the king yells at him. And I really like find this king character kind of captivating.
Yeah.
I also want to just take note of the fact that Squidward's named Wolfgang Amadeus Uh, yeah, Wolfgang Amadeus tentacles in his dream.
Yeah, is he like fiction kin for this or fact kin for this?
Could be.
So yeah, I feel like this king character with his like weird design with like his beautiful blue eyes with eyelashes.
He's so
His like
he's so captivating.
his
I love him.
his raspy Cockney accent. Like, oh, you gotta play me that music. It's very funny. And also, I like how SpongeBob tells him the poem about the man from Peru, just
What?
bringing that back around.
There's so many elements in this episode that just keep coming back around. It's awesome.
It's kind of fucked up though that Squidward is dreaming about a king guy who wants to kill him if he plays like shit.
I think this is, this is just like a reflection of Squidward's like inner self hatred, where like if he doesn't do music good enough, people are gonna kill him. This is some psychonaut shit.
So
Anyway, Squidward
true.
gets so pissed off he just snaps his clarinet in half, and everyone's like, "Oh no!" And King's threatens to fucking kill him. Then SpongeBob shows up. He transformed himself into a clarinet. He's clarinet SpongeBob.
So
I
this is something I took note of because, like, I feel like later on that SpongeBob's ability to just transform into whatever just kind of becomes a consistent thing with him. But I think
Hmm.
it's interesting how they sort of bring it around with the "you can be whatever you want in your dream" from Patrick's sequence here.
Yeah,
for sure.
Here, SpongeBob can be a clarinet.
yeah. It's nice. It's nice immediate payoff for that. And I,
Yeah.
of course, love the scene where he plays the SpongeBob clarinet. He just sings a really annoying song, but everyone thinks it's beautiful.
La la la. It's so good.
And the king is probably gay for SpongeBob in this moment. He knows it's
He's a
SpongeBob.
little,
He loves SpongeBob.
he's, he's a little bit gay for SpongeBob in
Wait,
this episode.
wait a second. Theory time. This king represents not only Squidward's self-loathing, but his deep closeted desire
Oh my
for
god, that's why he has like such
SpongeBob.
beautiful eyes and loves SpongeBob so much.
Oh my god.
I mean, SpongeBob also has blue eyes and eyelashes and everything.
Oh my god.
We're psychoanalyzing Squidward on the Krusty Cast today.
I mean, I feel like we do that a lot. He's very easy to psychoanalyze.
That's true,
There's a lot of
yeah.
psycho there to analyze.
Then he gets thrown into
Uh,
the food cart.
the like, does it say like the Nosh
The snack
cart,
wagon, I think.
snack wagon? The snack wagon, okay. Everyone just wants his clarinet. They don't actually care about him. Then SpongeBob turns back to normal and runs off, and so Squidward's dream is just ruined.
Also, I want to take note of Squidward's belly button.
Yeah, can we talk about Squidward's like fun shirt he's wearing in this scene, because he's just wearing like he's not wearing an undershirt. He's wearing like
I guess like Squidward doesn't wear pants anyway, but when he has like this like long shirt that gets ripped, it feels very jarring.
yeah.
Yeah.
Especially when he has a belly button for some reason. Okay.
Maybe that's also something he deeply desires. to have one.
Oh, he wants a belly button because that'll make him a mammal, and that's also why he loves breathing air so much
Oh my
in
god.
the Sandy movie. It all comes back around.
It all comes back around.
Somewhere.
Speaking of the Sandy movie,
Yes, yes, literally.
SpongeBob goes right into Sandy's dream, and he just falls off of an airplane, just like in the
Just
Sandy
like,
movie.
holy shit. This episode has so much foreshadowing. It's incredible.
Like, coming right off of the Sandy movie from last week and seeing this, God,
Mm-hmm.
it was so
It's
jarring.
also funny because it makes me beg the question: why is Sandy free falling when she could just use her flying squirrel powers?
Why isn't
I mean, this
Well,
Sparky?
is a
she likes to live life to the extreme, you know?
Why isn't
That's fair.
Sparky
This is
here?
consistent. Anyway, this is a very like short but fun little scene that's just like a little wordplay with SpongeBob not knowing what a parachute is and bringing up a bunch of other para things.
I love SpongeBob's bird. His famous bird.
His, his famous parakeet, and then Sandy
I
lands
love
in clam shit, and SpongeBob like falls out of the dream and gets fucked up and hurt.
This one scene was funnier and more entertaining than the entire Sandy movie was.
It is, and it's a much more dynamic Sandy characterization too.
Also, can we
Yeah.
talk about this?
It would have been funnier if SpongeBob was like, "Oh, I thought you said pair of shoes. Get it? Ah, ha, ha, ha."
I always wanted to make a splash. It's just a fun little thing in the background of this weird looking horse.
Oh my gosh, Sparky foreshadowing.
Yeah, it's Sparky foreshadowing. Like I said, he's been there the whole time.
And I also just
Anyway,
love Sandy's paramedic line, just finishing off
yeah,
the wordplay.
it's a very clever punchline to the para setup.
Yeah.
So SpongeBob falls out of the dream and he gets like concussed. He's like, "Okay, I'm done with dreams." Then he sees Mr. Krabs' dream, and he's like, I'll just see that too. I don't learn." It's probably like my least favorite scene in the episode, but also like really interesting to me. He goes into Pearl's dream, and it's just like this saccharine wonderland of like candy and shit. It's so like, oh, these writers have no idea what teenage girls like.
They like
They like tea parties with stuffed animals, which is like that's like a 5-year-old thing, not a 16-year-old thing.
I like Ricky Marlin. This background record thing.
Yeah, but then that's like confusing too because it's like, oh, they know that like teenage girls like pretty boy musicians and music, but they also like they like bubbles and cupcakes and teddy bears. I don't know. Pearl, not a good
Pearl's
character for the most part, and this kind of like shows they don't really know what they're doing with her. Gosh,
Yeah.
what 16-year-old is throwing tea parties with stuffed animals?
I don't know, maybe we could use this as like psychoanalyzing Pearl's deep desire to return to the carefree time youth when her peers weren't judging her or whatever. I don't know, man.
I don't think
Pearl's
it's,
I
just.
think
I don't think
I
it's
just
think
that
I'm
kind of wish
mostly
Pearl
psych-
got.
Hmm.
I
I
was,
wish
I was
Pearl
mostly
got more
psychoanalyzing the
development.
writers here.
Yeah.
I do like SpongeBob with his little flower on his head.
Yeah. He's so funny. He's so
He's
cute.
very pickable.
I like that Pearl isn't really even mad that SpongeBob's here. She's just disappointed when he doesn't want to stick around.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, he goes to Mr. Krabs' dream, where he's trying to catch the Moby Dollar. The scene isn't like as like interesting or funny as a lot of the other ones, but it's cute. I like how they bring the driver's license gag back around with him growing a mustache for it.
Yeah.
I like his fun shirt too. It's got all kinds of
Yeah.
funny patterns on it. How old would
Yeah.
SpongeBob, how old would Mr. Krabs be now? If he was
57. Which honestly does feel about right.
Well, I mean like in
Yeah.
our current day. Like he's born in
Oh.
42.
Oh,
2020.
he'd be
He
like
would
80 something.
be 81.
Oh wow.
Yeah, he's old. I mean, look at him. He's got multiple chins because he's old.
I
At
can't.
least he's aged gracefully.
It's true.
I can't wait to talk
Anyway,
about that episode. Sorry.
they catch the dollar in his wallet, but then it hops off because SpongeBob is careless. And then Mr. Cat sort of makes like a really funny face.
I love these expressions so much.
They're very expressive. I just kind of wish they like got used for a better joke, because like just like SpongeBob lets go of the dollar and it escapes, feels like kind of like a mild punch, like a mild setup for these really good expressions.
Yeah.
It's not like he did anything like that egregious. Hey, Mr. Krabs just kind of jettisons him from the dream.
Says he's fired. I don't think that sticks though.
Mm-hmm. Well, he was fired out of a harpoon gun.
Clever.
It's clever wordplay. And then he goes into Plankton's dream. And this is like, oh, this is like decidedly like evil maniac era Plankton. A lot of I think Plankton like kind of works better when he's not like actually evil and is just like a ruthless business competitor who just like he doesn't want to like actually destroy the world, but wants to just like ruin the Krusty Krab. Well, especially like early on, they mostly like played him as just like an actual evil mastermind who happens to just mostly want to ruin the Krusty Krab. And I don't think that's like quite as funny because it doesn't really line up. So Plankton's dream is just him just destroying Bikini Bottom as a kaiju.
They liked this bit so much they put it in hit video game Creature from the Krusty Krab on the PS2 and the Wii.
Mm-hmm. And he does at least make a point of destroying the Krusty Krab, so there is like that consistency. Also, it's interesting to see like dreams about Gary is there in his dream, and he goes over to like kill Gary.
Can we talk about his funny lollipop first, though?
Yeah, it's funny lollipop. Lick.
Lick.
I just want to talk. Why is Plankton dream about wanting to kill Gary? How does Plankton know Gary? And
well,
what has Gary done to Plankton?
Gary from the hit season 7 episode of Shellback Shenanigans, where he disguises
Desmond, that hasn't happened yet.
SpongeBob has a non-linear timeline. It's okay.
I mean, yeah, he's 13 years old here.
Dad. Maybe this took place during... I don't know. Okay, so he goes to fucking kill Gary. Then SpongeBob turns into a pushpin, bringing back his transformation powers from his dream powers.
Shit, yeah.
He deflates Plankton, and everyone... the shit out of him.
And he's asleep on his desk too. I don't think he owns a bed either.
So an important thing is the wiki calls the computer on his desktop Karen's rarely seen desktop form, and I don't think that's what? Karen. That's just
that is not
computer.
That's just a computer.
That's just a computer.
Karen fan seeing a computer for the first time, getting a lot of Karen vibes from this. Maybe this is like Plankton's side chick.
Oh no. He wouldn't do that. I don't think he'd do that.
I think he would. I mean, look at him in Crabs.
Okay, true. Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, Plankton wakes up with a shock because he gets crushed to death in his dream, and it expels Dream SpongeBob back into the real world, and he goes back to his dream. Then all of the people he met today show up in SpongeBob's house, and they're yelling at him for ruining their dreams. Yeah, you go first.
I was just saying, I want to talk about Plankton's gown first.
Yeah.
He looks so nice. Everybody in this scene kind of looks weird because for some reason Pearl doesn't have hair at one point.
Well, it's under her night. Oh, yeah, they forgot to draw her nightcap, and she doesn't have hair, so she's just like bald.
Yeah.
It looks so weird. I noticed it. I just noticed Plankton isn't wearing that nightgown because he was asleep at his desk. So he like put on that nightgown when he went out to yell at SpongeBob or something.
He didn't want to be naked.
hmm This scene like always like interested me even as a kid and kind of frustrated me because like Pearl and Gary don't feel like they should be here given like SpongeBob doesn't really do anything to ruin their dreams.
Yeah.
Like also like if I think about it, like Gary, it makes sense that like he could be mad at SpongeBob for ignoring his warning not to go wandering around or bringing all these people into his room and waking him up.
And
Is
well,
Pearl
he
just
didn't
like
join Pearl's stuffed animal tea party, and she's just a fun. And
yeah
if Krabs is going out, she may as well join him.
yeah I guess so. Yeah, I was gonna
Yeah.
say she didn't seem like that mad in the moment, but
And
oh, I
then,
like how
It's
Patrick
been
is pretty
stirring in her
mad.
head for a while.
yeah.
She's got a lot of time to stew on it in her dream. Maybe Mr. Stuffy was actually. Oh, I forgot to say my Mr. Stuffy theory.
Hang on. Let me bring up Mr. Stuffy.
So like, Pearl says, "Boys don't understand the sophistication of tea parties." Isn't that right, Mr. Stuffy? Implying that Mr. Stuffy isn't a boy. So I think that Mr. Stuffy is a he/him lesbian.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Representation win?
I think so.
Awesome.
Anyway, yeah. The episode ends with Patrick. I like how he's not really mad. He just wants a quarter. Just really, like, probably the funniest joke they could have ended this episode on.
Yeah.
It's a really good
Yeah.
line and continues this episode's strength of like tying itself back on itself.
If anything, they shouldn't be mad at SpongeBob. They should be mad at Mrs. Puff for giving him the ability.
Mrs. Puff takes control of SpongeBob's dream.
It forces him to ruin all his friends' dreams. Alright, so what did we think about
So what do
this?
we all think of Jinx?
Uh,
Jasmine, you can go first.
Yeah, alright. I really like this one. I think it's like one of the most whimsical and fun episodes of season one. It's like SB129 in that you have this really surreal premise and just sort of go wild with it. Getting all these different little character vignettes, and I like it a lot. I think it's a very good episode.
mm-hmm.
I definitely agree that I think Patrick's dream sequence is my favorite, but the episode as a whole is just really good. I don't think it's exactly the funniest episode of season one, and I do think that some of the later dream sequences aren't quite as interesting, but as a whole, I really like it. I gave it a 6. It's sort of like on the edge of a 7 to me, I think. It's definitely up there. It's definitely like a top 10 episode of the season for me. I like it a lot.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I gave this one a 7, and I do agree that, like, especially looking back, a lot of the episode's kind of like strongest in its front half. A few of the like later dreams aren't as interesting, but I still think it's worth a 7 just for how creative and interesting and surreal and fun and whimsical it is. There's a lot of good adjectives we can use to describe this.
For sure.
It just like feels very season one and how like experimental it is and how kind of like laid back, even with all the like wacky stuff going on.
Yeah, I
Doesn't
agree.
feel like
And I think
yeah.
that's a very distinctly season one thing, doing sort of these weird experimental episodes, but I feel like when later seasons do these sort of episodes, you have sort of these wacky gags to match the wacky premise. Well, here it's sort of this interesting mix of this out there premise with more laid back gags and style, which I really think is interesting. I like this style a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so 7 out of 7. Also, I just realized we forgot to ask our special guest for his opinion.
My what?
Oh, well, you see, I gave this episode a 6 out of 7. I thought it was a really good character episode for everyone, and I didn't like SpongeBob's feet, of course, but
Wow, Mo.
it was a good, creative, classic SpongeBob episode. This isn't what Mo sounds like remotely. I'm sorry.
You
It's
know,
okay.
we're glad you enjoyed it, Mo. We're happy to have you. You know, Mo, like you, I also gave this a 6 out of 7. It's definitely one of the most tightly put together season 1 episodes so far, in that nothing feels like it goes on too long, all the jokes land, all the characters feel more or less pretty interesting when SpongeBob encounters them. It's just a lot of fun, definitely one of the best ones of the season.
Yeah. I don't know. Do I bump up my score to a 7?
Follow your heart.
I'm not sure. It's really just on the edge there for me.
I think you ought to do it if that's what you feel like, Jasmine.
You know what? I'm generous. Let's do it. 7 out of 7.
Hey, there you go.
Let's go, Mr.
Let's
Stuffy
mow.
Sweet. Let's mow. We're homers.
Oh, Mo, you are a cut up. That was Sleepy
Yeah,
Time.
thanks for joining us after Maddie's untimely death. She
Oh,
gave this episode a 6 out of 7 in her will.
yeah.
Yeah.
It was her
Does
last
that mean...
request that we made it known. What does this mean,
And
Jasmine?
so now should we move on to our middle segment?
I believe. Yes.
Alright. So, recently I made an observation, which is the SpongeBob Wiki's list of fourth wall breaks kinda fucking sucks. It has like this really, really tenuous definition of what it calls a fourth wall break. So I just want to kind of go through some examples. So, like, it says in Karate Choppers, Mr. Krabs looks at the camera after he says, "I love money, yay!" So he looks to his right, where Squidward is standing, who speaks right after he says, "I love money, eh?" Like, I'm pretty sure he's looking at Squidward, and because of where Squidward's placed, it looks vaguely like he's looking at the camera. And then there's the ones that just don't feel like they even count. Like, okay, from season 9, in Layman Fortune, Incidental 106 plays a riff on the piano after it falls on his legs.
Wow.
I want someone to try and explain to me what the fourth wall break there is supposed to be.
You
Oh
get it
god, that's awful.
because he
He
broke
plays
his
music
leg.
in this music in the show.
No way, they did a reference to music in this show?
Yo, music? Were the people who made this show music fans? Hold on.
Yeah.
I'm getting some
I mean, this
strong
ties back
music
into
vibes.
Stephen Hillenburg being a fan of Ween. It's all connected, I think.
It was a
Yeah.
Ween reference because he played music, and Ween is also music.
Yeah, there's a similar one in later on where it says, "In Bunny Hunt, Bunny Wunny plays Puka on his ukulele," and I don't think that's a fourth wall break so much as like a clever transition into the BGM. Oh yeah, Randall, you should put the very first fourth wall break on screen.
Hang on.
No worries. Takes the time you need.
Just keep riffing
I
here.
think this one's fascinating. So, it says, "In no pictures, please, Squidward opens and comes out of a flower in the sky, probably aware that the sky is just the backdrop put up to mask out the water reflection."
No way.
They're assuming a lot about Squidward's internality here.
Yeah. And I love this because it's not even really a fourth wall break so much as just like a visual gag.
Yeah, this is just
I
like
feel like
part of
there's
the
a lot of
background.
conflating visual gags for
You're,
fourth wall break. Okay, in the executive treatment, a time card reading montage appears, and that one's also fascinating to me because no other time cards are included, so like
Yeah. Aren't they
what?
all breaking the fourth wall because they're like telling the audience how much time has passed?
Isn't the very presence of a narrator being there also kind of that?
well, the French narrator is in fact a character in universe, so I guess he doesn't count.
I think that means he does count if he's not like a detached narrator. He's like a character in the show who's aware that it's a show and narrates to the audience.
Clearly
Alright, we
intended
have
for
to have
someone to
our
see
epic
it.
French narrator debate. I guess. Say in the comments below whether the narrator being diegetic is a fourth wall break or not. That's the thing, like, anytime a character looks towards the camera for like a small amount of time, it's counted as a fourth wall break, as if just the mere act of not looking at a 3/4 angle makes something a fourth wall break. Because, like, lots of these don't feel like they're speaking to
Hmm.
the audience so much as just like looking straight on and just talking.
See, they're staring at 3/4 because if they stared at 4/4, it'd be a fourth wall break.
Oh shit! And like there are some examples here which I do think count. Like I think SpongeBob riding the bubble transition in Born to Be Wild counts.
Mm-hmm.
I think Patrick holding the time cards probably counts.
Hmm.
Like it's not like nothing on here is real. It's just like for every example that does count as a fourth wall break, I'd say there's 3 or 4 that don't count. So
It seems
there's
like they have
either
a very
two.
loose.
I think there's two directions we could take this. One is the responsible route, where we clean up this page, remove all these tenuous examples, really just try to narrow it down to things we can reasonably call fourth wall breaks. The other route would be to add even more tenuous examples and see how far we can go before, like, people catch on that this is stupid.
See,
Like, okay, we need to say that, SpongeBob saying he had the suds in Welk Attack, that's a fourth wall break because it's acknowledging another episode, acknowledging the episodic nature of a cartoon.
there needs to be one where it's like
Whenever
Patrick is in this episode, which is clearly referencing, and it just lists every other episode that has Patrick in it.
whenever SpongeBob tells a joke, it's a reference to the fact that it's a cartoon and he's a cartoon character because cartoon characters tell jokes. So he's clearly being self-aware here, breaking the fourth wall.
Whenever, like, Karen's screen displays something that's not her face, that's a fourth wall break. Don't ask me how it's a fourth wall break. If other visual gags can count as fourth wall breaks, so can this.
Or maybe this show is just one big fourth wall break, referencing in how our real world there are fish and waters and sponges everywhere. It's a little wink
In
wink to
season
the audience.
14, in season 14, Squidward calls Surface World Pizza Chef, portrayed by his voice actor Roger Bumpass, and that's a fourth wall break that he called a real person. Isn't that the opposite of a fourth wall break? Because that's like a character who exists in the show.
Yeah, that is literally just
Yeah!
an in-universe person. It's a reference, but it's not a fourth wall break.
Phoebe and Kyle were fourth wall breaks.
Okay, this one fascinates me. In Yellow Pavement, Mrs. Puff talks to the audience in the beginning of the episode. This episode is framed as an instructional video So, like,
Does that mean that
I
every
don't.
other TV program in the show is a fourth wall break because it references media?
In tentacle vision, when Sigford, when Patrick puts his mouth up to the camera, that's a fourth wall break.
I think
Let
that's
me.
just a
That's
camera
actually
angle.
listed on the page. Okay, it's not. It should be. Or it shouldn't be, but it should be just because it would be funny. I wouldn't vandalize this article myself, but if someone wants to, I'm not gonna stop you.
You're setting a bad example. We're gonna get banned from the SpongeBob wiki, and then we'll never be able to like steal their screen caps to put on screen.
Viewers, we
Ah,
urge you.
damn it.
Viewers, we urge you. Correct these misdeeds. Make new truths.
Yeah, you need to correct the misdeed that SpongeBob referencing that time he had the suds isn't a fourth wall break because it clearly is.
Exactly.
Should that be our transition?
I don't know.
I mean,
It's a little bit of a fourth wall break because we're talking to an audience right now. Are we a SpongeBob fourth wall break?
Oh shit!
that's what I'm talking
Hey,
about. Buds.
if
Okay.
we acknowledge the dude in the background of the Krusty Cast picture, is that a fourth wall break?
We're going too deep. We need to get back to Suds.
Okay. Yo, bubble transition, just like the bubbles that come out of SpongeBob when he has the suds.
Boy howdy, does he in this episode. So
Possible
He-
fourth wall break?
yeah, it's a fourth wall break, referencing that people get sick in the real world, like I am right now. So let's talk about it. So we start off with this episode block's second opening bedroom sleeping scene.
Yeah, I didn't even like realize that we had like an episode all about dreams, and this one just also starts off with a dream.
Yeah, they thought Sleepy Time was so good they wanted to do a little bit of an encore for the fans, you know.
Well, I
For
mean,
all we know, this takes place right after Sleepy Time. Like everyone left, and SpongeBob went back to sleep and started dreaming about this.
So true. This dream isn't nearly as elaborate, it's just SpongeBob standing on a giant Krabby Patty and dreaming it raining Krabby Patties.
This episode could just be like a sequel to the episode right before it's Sleepy Time. It could have just been like all the people left his house, and then he went back to sleep and started dreaming about this.
he's getting his comeuppance for ruining their dreams. So he has a dream about a bunch of burgers, and he loves eating those burgers. And
I think they're Krabby Patties.
no, it's a fourth wall break referencing burgers that exist in our world.
Guess you're right.
But turns out he's not eating Krabby Patties at all. He's having a delicious helping of his pillow here, which is disgusting. I hate how this wet pillow looks. So he's like, "This isn't food. I'm gonna go into the kitchen and I'm gonna get me some food." And we get to see Gary. He's sleeping and he's happy.
He's happy that SpongeBob isn't ruining his smart boy library dreams.
He's dreaming about Ween, I'm sure. And then we get this weird shot of SpongeBob tiptoeing, which I
Hmm.
hate.
Yeah.
We get a lot of SpongeBob toe action in this episode.
We sure do.
In these episodes,
If there's any
people
consistent runners, it's that
and sleep.
and sleep. Yes.
And good Patrick.
Oh, Patrick is great in this episode. I can't wait till we get to him. So
Honestly, Patrick's kind of just the MVP of season 1 to me, I think.
He's
mm,
a really good character.
yeah, it's his heyday before it all goes downhill for him. So SpongeBob goes to his fridge to get him some tasty midnight snacking. What did he need from his fridge that he left it open? He was making a peanut butter jelly sandwich. Was it the
I think he was
jelly?
being. Yeah, I think it was probably the jelly. You keep jelly in the fridge when you open it.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it's true.
Though in the next scene, he seems to be carrying the peanut butter, so like.
Maybe he freezes his peanut butter like a fucking freak.
Right in.
Or
If you
maybe
put
it's the
your
milk, because he has a glass of milk
Oh no, he
also.
does have milk. Never mind. Never
so
mind. This makes sense.
okay, we can't put this on the TV tropes fridge logic page because it all
Literal
checks
fridge
out.
logic.
So SpongeBob, he leaves his refrigerator open overnight because he immediately passes back out after not even taking a bite of his tasty, delicious sandwich. And his house freezes over. Now
We get some.
hmm, what was that?
I think so. After the house freezes over, we just get some cute visual gags. Like, I love the reporter on the TV just shivering, the
Yeah,
not Perch Perkins reporter. This
Yeah,
counts
it's a
as a
really cute one.
this counts as a fourth wall break, I think.
maybe his soul is trapped in that TV, doomed to be a fourth wall break for all eternity.
I mean, I feel like this would actually be consistent with the logic used on the page because it references the episode Life Insurance where like a dude reaches out of the
Jasmine,
TV.
can we like actually stop talking about fourth wall breaks and talk about the episode?
Yeah, okay.
You've actually been talking about this for the past like 15 minutes.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Let's put that fourth wall back up and talk about SpongeBob waking up and realizing that things are really cold now, and it's because of his fridge. Which he must have a really good fridge to cause all this. Because
Yeah.
I don't think it was his freezer he opened. I think it was just his regular fridge.
World's coldest fridge award.
And so we get a sequence of him slipping and sliding around his icy house here. We get
Mm-hmm.
some fun moments. He goes back to his bedroom for what might be the most tragic bedroom scene in the series so far, to where he's just so
Yeah.
uncomfortable and cold.
Sort of looks so like fucked up with his little like sunken in eyes, and also this is the famous Gary I need ketamine scene.
Yeah,
So add that to your SpongeBob meme bingo. Also, wait, what's the Scallop's name? Because Shelly is here. That's his name, right?
think so.
Yeah.
I hope
Hi,
Shelly's okay.
Shelly. They should do an episode about Shelly, I think.
Surprised
I'm
they
surprised they
haven't.
haven't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love Gary in his like little like winter outfit with his
Yeah.
like shell warmer and earmuffs. He looks very cute.
He's so warm. He knew this was coming. He knew SpongeBob would louse it all up and fuck everything
He's
up.
prepared.
That's why he's
Anyway,
so
so
smart.
SpongeBob. I know you. I guess you're doing the summary, so you explain SpongeBob going into the bathroom because this is probably the most interesting scene in the episode to me for one reason.
Yeah, so SpongeBob realizes that something's up. He's not feeling so great, so he goes to his bathroom and he
Uh,
discovers. Go ahead.
I don't know if you noticed this, but in the background, in one of the shots, when Gary walks in, you can see a particular thing in the background here. You can see actually SpongeBob's ringer,
Oh wow.
Oh, yeah.
which
Hang
From
is
on.
the
amazing
iconic
foreshadowing.
episode Stuck in the Ringer.
Beloved episode stuck in the ringer. They had it all. I think it's had this all like at least the concept of SpongeBob having a ringer like planned out to the point
Yeah.
where it's in this background shot, and it doesn't really like get expounded on until like season 6 or whatever.
That's
Season 7.
Season 7, jeez.
that's such a crazy detail.
I was shocked to see it here.
did they reference fan favorite episode of whichever season it comes from, Stuck in the Ringer?
It feels like when you like see like the main villain and they get like a cameo up here. It's like the first episode before you know who
I
they are.
mean, I've been thinking about fucking season 7 lately, and it's kind of just a weirdly self-referential season in general. Like, before they went all in on these classic SpongeBob references, so I guess it makes sense for that season to do that, but it's still such a weird detail to see here.
Yeah, like it's never really explained like why he has it until like you could probably like if you think about it, you could figure out oh he dries off with it, but like it's not very like intuitive and like it's kind of a weird thing to put in the background and never explain
And
till
also,
season 7.
Yeah. I
and
mean, I
plus you're
think he
still,
uses it in Truth or Square, another fan favorite episode.
but you're still
So
underwater,
another thing that
SpongeBob. You're not
stands
gonna
out
get ringed
to
out.
me about this scene is that like SpongeBob has to explain to Gary that he has the suds and doesn't get cold.
Yeah,
And that just stood out to me that
Yeah,
Gary would be unfamiliar with SpongeBob's illnesses.
maybe
it's a
It
little
makes
weird
sense
foreshadowing,
because
like little like
it makes
exposition, I
sense
guess not.
because like you need to do the audience exposition stuff,
Mm-hmm.
so it's
You may as well
fine.
explain it to Gary because Gary
Yeah,
is easy to talk to.
yeah.
But
Gary.
he's been with SpongeBob. SpongeBob was in summer camp, so like,
Yeah, I was about to ask. Maybe he just got Gary a little while ago, but we know from the SpongeBob cinematic universe now that no, no, he met him in summer camp. Our
thank you for
beloved
putting like
Krusty.
caked up SpongeBob on screen. By the way,
But it is just crazy. This visual. Everybody mean to
Yeah.
me. And
I
this
so
love
episode
SpongeBob just pulling up his underwear so high.
I like wearing my underwear like this, Gary.
and SpongeBob denies. He confirms that he is sick, but he says that he's still going to work anyhow.
Mm-hmm.
I don't get why
He's sick, but
SpongeBob's so.
he's in denial about it. And
I think
like,
it's not like as bad as it is.
yeah.
I
And
guess
you know what? I've been there before, so I get
Mhm.
it.
I imagine it must be even worse if you actually like work and aren't just going there to get paid.
couldn't be me.
Also, I just say, well, I'll say this episode is like it may be like the most season one episode to me, or like one of the like most like early Bob episodes where like has the whole SpongeBob thing of like taking like a thing from like our world and making it like a like marine life twist. Like, oh, instead of getting a cold, he gets the suds and blows bubbles everywhere because he's a sponge. I just think it's a very cute.
Yeah. And so he goes to the Krusty Krab. He looks like shit now. Pale Bob is really terrible to look at, I think. He's all shriveled up and wrinkly and just disgusting.
It's very concerning. I love this bit where Mr. Krabs comes in and asks what's wrong with him, and Gary just like slides in out of nowhere and
Yeah.
explains and slides away. What's a little thing?
Well, yeah, Gary
This
brought
is
him here. And then we get a weirdly like generous Mr. Krabs bit because like he'd be like, "No, you're sick, but you're staying here and making me money." But Mr. Krabs is like,
Mm-hmm.
"You're sick. Go home. Take the day off." And it's just season 1 Mr. Krabs is kind of weird in how like his consistency as a character. Because I don't think his greed has been like the only thing he does like in later
Yeah,
seasons.
like it. Like really, this is like it is just a better way to write a character where he's not just like cartoonishly does everything literally just thinking of money in the most like short-sighted way. It makes him more like rounded and makes him more feel like more versatile and realistic.
Kind of
But
like
we know how
a
the story goes.
yeah, kind of like a flawed father figure to SpongeBob almost. And then they Then there's a certain character in this scene that I thought was interesting because I don't know how often we see uh, pants and shirt catfish incidental often,
Oh
but
fuck yeah, it's Incidental 66. So I kinda love this guy because hold on, I need to pull this up. One of the artists on the show did like art of Incidental 66 for someone's birthday, saying it's like it's everyone's favorite SpongeBob character. And then saying that Incidental 66 had to go back into the vault. Cause
what,
yeah, they just like didn't use this guy until fucking season 13 when they brought back a lot of Freak season 1 incidentals.
you remember when we talked about like Scaredy Pants and its fucked up incidentals, and a week after they brought it back for a new episode?
Yeah.
That was messed
Okay,
up.
yeah, I found the art in question.
Okay.
Hold on. And here's Incidental 66 being sent back to the vault.
You know, I love. I have no bigger passion in my life than SpongeBob incidentals. I just think they're awesome and neat.
Feel free to put the pictures up on screen if you want to.
Yeah, happy birthday, Ian. If there's any Ians in the crowd and it's your birthday, happy birthday to you. It's Incidental
From Incidental.
66. So, and everybody's in a panic because Mr. Krabs tells SpongeBob he doesn't want him sneezing on the food. And then everybody runs out. And that's the end of that scene. SpongeBob goes back home, and he still looks like shit. Something about SpongeBob in this episode. He's just so like low energy, and like in the last half, he just doesn't really care. He
Hmm.
just looks so
I
bored.
like how they like in a little bit they pick up his energy some, and I think it balances it out a good bit.
I
I feel like
kind
this
of
episode,
like that.
like episodes where like a character gets sick, can be very like miserable and boring. I feel like this episode does a pretty good job of balancing it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's because we get our boy. We get Patrick in this episode.
Well, you skipped Sandy. Sandy was funny.
Yeah.
Oh, right. So he
Yeah.
calls Sandy, and he wants her advice because she's sick. And Sandy is concerned about that, suggests taking him to a doctor. I don't remember exactly what she said.
He like calls Sandy to like have her escort him to the doctor because he's too sick to go alone. I
Oh,
guess.
right.
Yeah. And also he doesn't know how to drive. Which Sandy
Yes,
famously does know how to do.
Yeah.
Sandy can take him there on Sparky.
Sorry,
I love
SpongeBob. I take you on Sparky, but Sparky is out of town right now visiting relatives, so he can't be in this episode.
He's visiting Kyle and Phoebe.
Yeah.
I hope everyone watched the Sandy Cheeks movie review, or else they're going to be really confused at all these jokes.
Yeah, watch the
Yeah.
review, don't watch the movie.
I love Sandy's overly complicated Texas sayings.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a funny bit they have in this
We over there
episode.
casted in a barefoot jackrabbit on a hot, greasy grill. It's the middle of August.
And SpongeBob, he's just down. He's not having it. He can't have fun with all this goofiness that's happening. So he
So,
he puts on his famous fit that we see in every other episode.
I love his little winter outfit. He looks so goth boy, and he also looks exactly like a character from Your Turn to Die, critically acclaimed visual novel. Can I get you to put that guy on screen for comparison? Because I want you
Okay.
to I want to put them side by side because they're like lost brothers.
All right.
You can keep talking about the episode though.
Yeah, so SpongeBob's not doing so hot right now. He hears a knock
oh
at
my
his
god,
door.
that is like the exact
Oh,
same outfit.
oh, good lord. Okay.
I was not kidding.
So Uh, is this a fourth wall break reference to this visual novel that came out in the future? You be the judge.
Did they know?
Like, you're not kidding. That's like exact. The same color
Yeah.
shirt, scarf, hat, pants.
It's actually uncanny.
But
He's even
anyways,
like sickeningly pale.
so
SpongeBob. SpongeBob's ready for White Boy Wednesday.
God, it's his favorite time of the week. So he hears a
So now
knock at the
Patrick
door.
shows up.
Yeah, and we get like this is when the episode goes from all right at best maybe to great. Patrick is like
Yeah,
crazy good in this episode. Probably one of his
this is
He
best.
really is.
such a good Patrick episode. This is peak Patrick being like misguided older brother figure.
And
So,
he comes in and he's like, "Hey SpongeBob, you look like shit." And SpongeBob tells him that he's going to the doctor. And Patrick starts freaking out because Patrick hates doctors. That's a fun little tidbit about Patrick that we know now, that he just hates doctors.
You think
he
Patrick is
knows a guy who
anti-vax?
knows the guy who
Yes,
went to the
yes,
doctor once.
yes, he is absolutely. I thought about that watching this. He would discourage SpongeBob from getting the vaccine.
SpongeBob, you don't know what kind of microchips they put in these things.
And SpongeBob for at least a little bit is just like he's not going along with it. Normally he does, but he's just like, "No, I'm going to the doctor, Patrick." And then Patrick just tries to tell him all of the scary, horrible things about the doctor.
Yeah.
Like,
How he'll make you sit in the waiting room and read old magazine.
I do like that SpongeBob's just like really dismissive of it first. It's like, is that the scary part, Patrick? Just like he's not having it. Then Patrick
Mm-hmm.
tells him about the stethoscope.
I like SpongeBob's weird, like, tuning fork-shaped plant here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is that? Is it coral? Might be coral.
I guess it's
I think
coral.
it's coral, yeah.
This is a living being. Patrick just killed someone.
Oh,
It's
damn.
it's ironic.
Rip.
He hates the doctors. He hates those who save lives, but he himself has taken one. It's poetic.
This coral's now with Lippy in our big list of dead SpongeBob characters.
Poor Lippy.
They're in a better place now.
And so now SpongeBob's on board, and he's terrified of doctors. He believes Patrick's thing he read on the internet, and Patrick
No
pitches.
stethoscope, no doctor, no old magazines, no
Yeah, that's weird. He just like hisses towards the end without saying anything.
I mean, that's because Patrick does the hissing sound when he uses the
Yeah,
stethoscope.
that's the sound a
Oh,
stethoscope makes.
oh, I didn't even notice that. That's clever. So Patrick pitches to SpongeBob that he'll be the doctor because he's smarter than doctors, and he'll help SpongeBob get back to full health. So they go into the kitchen and they decide to plug up all of SpongeBob's pores with corks.
Because if the issue is that bubbles are coming out of him, then no bubbles will come out of him if all his pores are plugged up.
Yeah, this bit's kind of is pretty funny. I love that Patrick's just faking being a professional here. It really
Yeah, I love.
it just really does play into the whole he thinks he's smarter than he actually is.
I love when Patrick gets to act like he knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
We get to see
Yeah.
like a reprise of this concept all the way in a later episode called "The Splinter."
Oh.
So
You
a lot
had
of set up for beloved later episodes.
you had to bring down the mood.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Let's talk about how funny and cute, like, engorged SpongeBob looks while Patrick's begging for his
Yeah.
life.
SpongeBob, for the first time in a while in this episode, SpongeBob looks normal and cute, almost even. He's become Big Bob. And SpongeBob's convinced. He thinks that this actually solved the problem.
Mm-hmm.
And then we get a funny line from Patrick saying, and they said I'd never amount to anything. Who said that,
True.
Patrick?
I love
Um,
that line so much.
I love the way he says it. He's so, like, proud of himself and so, like, subdued about it. Oh, well.
Because you can
It's,
imagine
it's,
this. You can imagine this same like scenario of Patrick pretending to be a doctor because it does happen in later episode, but just like in a really recent one where he's really loud and like really
mhm.
screaming a bunch.
Yeah.
It's just nice to
Just,
see Patrick being really chill and dumb.
yeah.
And
He
I'm
thinks he's doing, like, the right thing here.
yeah. And another interesting thing about this episode, we'll get into it in a bit because it kind of presents the idea of a rivalry between Patrick and Sandy that we don't explore
Mm-hmm.
much. It's a fun dynamic.
Yeah, I kind of love the Patrick and Sandy dynamic that gets, like, debuted in this episode. I wish it was, like, something the show went to more.
Yeah.
Honestly, yeah.
So Patrick and SpongeBob, they go into his living room. They think everything's okay, and they decide to call Sandy and just call it off.
Mm-hmm.
And then we
I
get
love how...
hmm, go ahead.
You go.
I was just gonna lead into the Patrick and Sandy conversation. That's really funny.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I really like how Patrick talks in this, where he's, like, trying to sound, like, professional, be like, oh, that will no longer be required.
And then he just like towards the end of the call, he's just like really tired of it, and he just gets all mad and shouts at her.
He also hates the Jackrabbit
Yeah, yeah, the
simile.
rabbit.
That might be, like, my favorite one line in the episode is, yeah, yeah, the rabbit.
And
I think
so,
these two just make a really good comedic duo, because, like, Patrick is, like, stupid, but unlike SpongeBob, he's also really stubborn.
yeah,
So, like, he and Sandy are also they're just both, like, really stubborn personalities, so they just kind of don't mesh. And it's really funny to, like, watch them, like,
Yeah.
bounce off each other.
I
and
really wish we got more of this sort of dynamic. I
yeah,
can't really think of another episode where this is like a thing.
like Patrick being the really dumb friend who thinks he knows better, but Sandy being the one that actually knows what's going on. It's fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the
Yeah.
only other, like, Patrick Sandy episode I can think of is I Had an Accident.
Yeah,
That
but
one
they're
they're, like,
But in
more
that one
working
they're working
together.
together, so like
Yeah, so it's, like, slightly different, but it's still similar to me. Like, I think these characters should be paired together more.
for sure.
yeah. I mean they're
So
also together for a bit in Nature Pants.
Oh yeah, I think I said they like back then. I liked them a lot together too because they just work together well. With Patrick's just, like, it's ignorance, and Sandy's, like, frustrated competence. They
be-
work really well together.
yeah, because we normally see SpongeBob and Sandy together, and SpongeBob's like he's naive and like an innocent, and Patrick is just incredibly dumb and malevolent a lot of the
Mhm.
time.
Yeah,
It's just fun to see them bounce off each other, and then they decide that
She's gonna come over anyway and just see what the fuck's going on because she doesn't trust Patrick to do this right.
and then we get another iconic Patrick bit, the "Don't touch me, I'm sterile."
I love this frame. I love his face.
Just
Mouthful of,
So
like, lumpy teeth
unhinged
Patrick
here.
is so much better than single tooth Patrick.
I miss Shark Tooth Patrick so much.
Sharktooth Patrick is so good.
Single Tooth Patrick could never. And so they do some fun treatments. We get some more feet stuff.
Yeah, I don't really, like, get this montage fully. Like, I get it's supposed to be, like, Patrick trying, like, home remedies and stuff on SpongeBob. Like, trying to do, like, I don't know, he's, like, pulling out a tooth and doing, I guess, like, chiropractic by jumping up and down on him.
Yeah, it's a little bit odd, but I
It mostly
get
just feels like an excuse for SpongeBob to get beat up and have weird things happen to him.
I guess they were running a little short and decided why don't we just put in a little comedy montage here to
Mm-hmm.
liven up the episode a little bit, and it does because we get the funny image of Patrick having SpongeBob on the torture rack.
I do love the they cut away and then cut back and just on the torture rack and Patrick is wearing like an executioner hood.
I love it so much.
It's probably one of the best like visual gags in this season for me. It's just so funny. And Sandy's outside. She's knocking. She's gonna take SpongeBob to the doctor.
And Patrick just has to get SpongeBob out of her sight, so.
Yeah, let's get more a good Patrick Sandy dynamic. Patrick like is doing a bad job of covering up his lie that SpongeBob is not here. And
Yeah.
the SpongeBob like disguises SpongeBob as the Rock, and then SpongeBob like sneezes and breaks the disguise of Patrick. Like, the dirt therapy is working well.
Yeah.
There's
still, like-
so many good Patrick lines here.
Yeah,
he's
he's
not here at the moment. Please leave a message after the beep. Beep.
Beep.
And then
It's like
him
this-
just trying to say SpongeBob's his mobile.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's really good. It's such a good back and forth that gives us a lot of funny Patrick jokes. It's peak Patrick.
I miss when Patrick was given
Yeah.
funny dialogue to say.
It didn't just go, no, have fun, we got feet.
And then we get a really like gross segment where SpongeBob opens up his mouth and he has terrible breath and he destroys a pleasant looking clearing.
I don't even really get what the point of that is, but also I do really like think the visual of the ruined, desolate plateau looks really cool. I would have this as like a Match of the Gathering land.
And
Put
then
this in your Magic the Gathering SpongeBob set, I guess.
Sandy
Secret
decides,
Layer SpongeBob coming 2025.
Magic does need to do a collab with SpongeBob. They'd make $1 million at least, I bet. And then Sandy decides enough is enough and takes SpongeBob by force.
Yeah.
And we get a kind of long back and forthing segment here.
I didn't think it was like too bad. They like keep the visuals
Yeah.
fresh at least. They like I also just like continued arguing. I like SpongeBob being rolled around like a Katamari, and he looks so like bored with it the whole time.
I really like Bored Bob in this episode. We don't get to see him often, but it's really funny when we do.
Yeah.
And then
Anyways, with the, yeah.
SpongeBob's launched off into the distance to where he rolls down the hill that's always been in front of the Krusty Krab and he threatens to destroy it. But he stops short. Luckily for Mr. Krabs. But it turns out he does a big sneeze and all his quirks are gone and we get another Krusty Krab destruction. It's not the first one, is it? First one was Employee of the
I think
Month,
it
wasn't
might
it?
be.
No, Employee
Yeah,
of the
Employee
Month.
of the Month is
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't really like get this bit comedically. It feels like kind of unnecessary for the Krusty Krab to be destroyed.
Yeah,
Mr. Krabs didn't really do anything this episode. He already had like the misfortune of all of his customers freaking out. This feels like kind of just like
just punching
pretty,
down
like-
on Mr. Krabs for no reason in this
Yeah.
episode.
I don't want to call it like lazy, but it feels like a very half-baked punchline for the bit.
Yeah. Probably also trying to fill time with something, if I had to guess. So they take SpongeBob to the hospital, and we see Dr. Fish incidental, and he doesn't have gross orange arms this time, which is cool.
Yeah, he's a lot
Thank
better
the
now.
Lord.
I think I said this before, but I kind of love whenever this guy appears. He has I just love his delivery. I just love his demeanor. He's so cheerful.
Yeah.
Is Dr. Fish incidental Who voices him? Is it D. Bradley Baker?
I think it's Bill Fagerbakker. How do you pronounce his last name?
Fagerbaki, I believe.
All right.
Is it? I thought it'd be a
Is it? Oh.
different voice.
Hold on.
I love his voice, though, is what I'm trying to say. He delivers things really funny.
He's very Dr. Hibbert.
Really is. And then we're introduced to another SpongeBob staple. That's not really a SpongeBob staple because we only see it in like a couple. I think this is the only time we see it in a classic era episode. It's Hans.
Yeah.
Oh
Oh, I'm
yeah.
glad to see Hans. The whole sequence is kind of like classic. It feels very memorable, the whole live action thing. SpongeBob has
Yeah.
always been good at
Yeah.
like bringing these like live action gags and merging them with the episode, which is, you can see an example of that in the Sandy Cheeks movie.
Oh, we sure do.
Unfortunately, Hans here is kind of the precursor to Kyle and Phoebe, so I can't forgive him.
It's
But I
a
do enjoy this scene.
it's a fourth wall
Yeah.
break. It references that humans live in our world. And then we see him wash Tom Kenny's back.
Why is
Hmm.
Tom Kenny wearing glasses in the shower?
I just think this is a really fun segment of just like SpongeBob doing
Oh yeah.
sponge things, and that cures him, and then he gets a big dumb lollipop at the end.
I love the giant lollipop so much. I love how happy he looks with it.
And then Patrick gets the bright idea that he can fake an illness for his own benefit. And then
Yeah, he just
and then he
grabs a bubble wand and blows a bubble and is like, I have the suds too.
and then the doctor enacts a hellish punishment on Patrick, tortures him for all eternity. I like this end bit. This is like 2 episodes in a row that just ends on a really strong Patrick joke.
Yeah.
Hmm. It's a funny way to give him his comeuppance.
Yeah. But what did we think about this one, though? As a
I
whole?
gave it a 5 out of 7, personally. I think that it's sort of an episode that's hard carried by Patrick just being so good. Like,
Mm-hmm.
there's so much great Patrick dialogue here. I love Dr. Patrick in this episode. And I'm sure I'll love him again when he comes back and hits season 6 episode, The Splendor.
I can't wait for the Splinter. I can wait for the
Like,
Splinter.
I
I
think
don't
they
know why
do
I
a
said
good
that.
job injecting some energy into this sort of story because, as you said, these sorts of sickness episodes can be pretty slow and pretty miserable. So, like, injecting this wacky Patrick fun time, I think definitely helps a lot. I don't think
Absolutely.
this is like a top tier episode. I think there are some parts that are a bit slow, some plot beats that don't completely make sense, but as a whole, I think it's on the good side of things.
For sure.
Hmm. Oh,
I
I thought it was a pretty remarkable episode. I personally gave it a 6 out of 7. I just love all the wacky Patrick antics. SpongeBob, he really went through an ordeal here, but it all worked out in the end. That's what I like about it.
so right, Mo. I'm just so happy you're here.
I did also give it a 5 though myself. I think it's very like there are some like pretty dull parts, but there are also a lot of really funny parts. I think it's just a very like solid season 1 episode.
Mm-hmm.
It's about like what I'd expect, you know.
Yeah.
Not like in that it feels
Yeah.
like boring. It just feels it's very solid. I'm fond of it.
Yeah. I really enjoyed this one. It's very like y'all said, it's very hard carried by Patrick. But when you have a really, really good Patrick episode in like these early years, I think that's something special.
Oh, yeah. Patrick's the MVP of season 1. I'm saying it again.
Mm-hmm.
For sure. Like he doesn't get. I'm sure he's still good in 2 and 3.
Oh yeah, but I definitely think season one is peak Patrick.
Yeah, because it strikes that balance of him being just like really chill. Because even in season 2 and on, we see that he gets like progressively more like violent and aggro as it goes
Yeah,
on.
like
Like in the salty spittoon episode.
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah, I
I
think it's
think
like
some early
chill.
season two oh,
Hmm.
I
you
think that like
go.
chill, well-meaning but misguided Patrick is like peak, and like it kind of like he gets really like simplified out and like just becomes the stupid guy character, and he could basically
Yeah,
interchange
like
with like a lot of stupid guy characters in a lot of series, and it's unfortunate, really, because they had something special
yeah.
here. Not to
Yeah.
I
say that like
think
later
that
Patrick can't be funny, but like,
yeah, definitely. Patrick still has good material later on, but I definitely think that later seasons sort of lose some of that season one Patrick magic. I think
Yeah.
some of the early season two episodes still have some of that good season one Patrick energy. Like, I think Something Smells and Big Pink Loser have that sort of energy, but
Mm-hmm.
I definitely think it gets lost over the course of season two, and I think it's a bit disappointing.
I just miss when Patrick
hmm
was cute.
yeah.
Cute Patrick is the best Patrick.
And not like quote unquote cute Patrick with the single tooth. I don't like the single tooth. I hate the single tooth.
We have season two to blame for that also. I feel like I'm talking down on season two as if I don't consider it the best season of the show.
Jasmine hates season two. We're gonna get just a bunch of twos when we get to that season two. That's why they call it that.
Yeah. Season 2 out of 7. Maddie also. Let's see what Maddie gave it, because she gave it.
I've been giving Maddie scores through Mo. If you hadn't
Oh,
realized,
oh, I see. Oh, they're putting words in my mouth. Things I don't really believe. Well, Mo.
And Randall, have you given your rating yet?
Oh, I thought I did. I gave it a 5 out of 7. Good episode. I enjoyed it a lot.
good episode.
Good episode. Not like top 10 like Sleepy Time is, but still really good.
I think
hmm
Well,
I think
regular good.
I think after our last video, as at the time of recording, when we recorded it in the future, I predict it's going to be a very bad episode. We needed this.
So, shall
So
we say what episodes we're covering next time?
next week's
I
episodes are
mean,
going to be so exciting because one of the best
oh,
episodes is next week. The ones that we all love,
the paper.
the paper.
The paper. We have the paper, and also
We're
Valentine's
just
Day.
talking about how good and chill Patrick was in these episodes. And now we're getting Valentine's Day,
Yeah,
which is
To
like
be fair, I think
he
there's also a lot of cute Patrick in Valentine's Day. I
is. That's
kind of
also
watched
like
ahead and
it's like the origin of like Patrick aggro moments. So that's gonna
oh
be
yeah.
interesting.
yeah. But up until then, he's very cute. So I believe that's our episode for this time. Hopefully, we'll have Maddie back on the next one. But we're happy to have had you, Mo. You may not have chimed in a whole lot, but it's just nice to have you
Uh,
around.
I'm just very shy. I'm a kind of a bit of an introvert, actually.
It's okay, so is Squidward, and so is Norton the mailman.
Alrighty. You have anything to say before we head out, Mo?
No.